Get your thoughts in a moment, Jay. How we're going to go to a shout out from our sponsors, and when we return, game number 2.
The 2017 Heroes Global Championship Finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Game 2 rapidly approaching here for the 2017 HGC Finals, and something that I think goes in experts' favor is that they don't necessarily need to bring out a strategy like this again in this series at least. They could if they wanted to, but Genji Abathur is one of those nice tricks to throw into a draft that's like, okay, this is very powerful. Are you going to ban an Abathur? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah, it's Medivh, Abathur, pick your poison, and I really wonder if we'll see the same style of draft that I talked about in the first series against Ballistics, where ADRD on heroes that we haven't seen him on tradition. I'm not saying he can't hold his own on the double support role. It just didn't look as precise as we normally see. Like, the Abathur pick is nothing new for them on Infernal Shrines. The Medivh was banned out. They went into it early, and it ended up paying off, so they could go back to a lot of the comfort things. Remember, they're playing for their spot to get to the next match just to get to BlizzCon. So at this point, it almost feels like if you got any tricks, go ahead and go, or if you got the comfort, see what happens.
Where we're going to go. Battleground ready for our second match here, and it will be Tomb of the Spider Queen by Team Expert. But I remember that you guys didn't even mind this for Soul Torturers either.
Yeah, this is a map we were talking about as being really exciting to potentially see in this best of 3 because both teams seem to do really well on it. I think Team Expert plays a little bit more technically, and Soul Torturers just kind of aggroes the map. And obviously that doesn't mean that Team Expert's not aggressive, it's just a little bit more technical of a style from them. I do feel like part of the problems for Soul Torturers in that last game too is Skrull was locked out of ETC Muradin. He was an Arthas. He couldn't hit those stuns. He couldn't hit rather roots with the Howling Blast. We didn't see really good rain of vengeances. And sometimes they could have blocked those Sanks from going down. That's what I'm worried about for this team is if Expert takes the tank line again, puts Bad Benny on the Muradin, removes the ETC.
Yeah.
I'm worried for Soul Torturers.
One game away from elimination are Soul Torturers, and they start things off how every team has started off against Team Expert.
To add on to that point that Wolf was bringing up here, I think Expert has identified that Skrull will struggle if he's not on that ETC. You know, back at the older Eastern Clash that we had them in, it was more pick tanks that we saw. Stitches, a Nubrak, and on that Arthas, I'll straight up say it, he didn't play that tank well at all. There were too many moments where God Dog was in trouble, and before Skrull even responded back to help out God Dog, he was already dead. Yeah. He was gone. He would come back to the fight. It's like, oh, well, I guess I'm here holding my E button. And that is not okay. If you're playing a defensive tank, you need to be in a spot where you are able to, A, handle your opponents that's coming at you, Bad Benny, and then 2, you can save your carry.
I think banning the ETC here again is a very wise choice. I think they're thinking a step ahead potentially right now, burning down this time bank. But if they give Soul Torturers the ETC, it's a very strong tool on this map as well, specifically because the distance between lanes is very short, can be very aggressive. And let's see if Soul Torturers grabs the Muradin now, because, you know, that's the next go-to here for this team. They ran Garrosh on Tomb last time.
I think the Muradin's a safe pick. I really wonder after our series earlier, Trick, looking back on the EU HGC, this was something they like to run Chromie, they like to run Vala, they also like to run Tracer, as we saw, and they've run Chromie Tracer before in the league, but it did not look good against Ballistics. You think that might be shaking them away from that style of strategy?
I don't think so. It was a bit of a weird variation. Typically, we don't see that that Tracer and that Chromie together. It's usually like a gray main and a Chromie together to set up that idea. I think Tracer was that pseudo adjustment because the Tassadar was picked up on the other side into the Chromie. So you go for the damage first, Tracer cleans up. And it happened a couple times. I just think Ballistics was a little bit too good at controlling the fight.
A Tracer comes in, they don't necessarily need to pair that up with shields, but down the line, Zarya could be something. We've seen EDRD play it before.
Yeah, against Ballistics, when they grabbed the Tracer early, it was with a Uther Malfurion.
They generally always do, yeah.
With the Chromie, right? It was not, you know, very different from what we see right now. It was on the same map, Tomb of the Spider Queen. When we saw Tomb last time for Soul Torturers, it was a really weird draft. They went into the Lucio, Kel'Thas, Malthael kind of draft. Did not really work, kind of fell flat there. And I think this is a big problem. It goes back to Skrull's lack of ETC. What did they build with this Tassadar this time? the play we saw out of God Dog on the Vala was pretty bad last game. You talked about the lack of peeling too from Scroll. I think this team has already kind of been figured out by Expert, and I'm not really sure what direction Soul Torture should look to here.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of making Scroll happy. I think God Dog didn't have a bad game, he just didn't have any options available to him. He had no teammates around him when he needed them. So making sure that Scroll on a tank that he is happy with is fine. Maybe you gotta pull off the Zoffman takes now. Maybe you bring in that Stitches and go for a pick comp.
Yeah, tough to do with the Greymane chosen as a DPS, no offering of follow-up CC, so I think Stitches might be off the table. You know, there's no Uther here. There's a Garrosh is banned.
Garrosh was the last warrior that was played from Soul Torturers, and we saw them in the match you were alluding to earlier. So Team Expert takes that away.
And now, what does Soul Torturers go to here? I mean, the Morales ban something we'd see in Korea all the time with Chastadar is not available for the Tracer. This is not a crazy one, but you have Arthas left, not strong as a Tracer. If you can't hit your Howling Blast against a Genji, are you really going to hit them against this Tracer? I think the answer is very unlikely.
Well, for now, they're electing to think about a support takeout, and this is one that I actually wanted to be taken away. Even with it being the Tracer already picked up on the right side, which is typically what we see Nick pull up of, you want to take that option away from him. Chromie is being hovered, and I think it's a wise choice. The only issue is that this time we have that Muradin. Typically, you have that Chromie paired with the Johanna because she brings in that wave clear, but with Muradin being up and available for Team Expert, there is a chance they might not go the Chromie route. Regardless, you should be safe and ban it out, and they do so.
And it gives you a bit easier target. We saw it with the Johanna earlier, and you can kind of get that condemn into a Chromie bomb, but generally now, especially with heavy impact, you got that double stun early. Your kill potential is a little bit higher. The question for me now is going to be for Expert, will we see the Mage style? You know, the Vala is kind of the backup option, but a Vala Tracer might not work too well since there's no tank on the other side, could lead into a Johanna blind style. So we've seen some Kael'thas in the past, Gul'dan quite some time ago. I wonder if they, obviously they need to have some wave clear. I wonder if they might go Mage style here unless they feel comfortable going into the Vala. I feel that's pretty much what we're going to be looking at in terms of wave clear and their main damage dealer.
I want to ask you, Trixler, I talked to Claris about this a little bit earlier when we cast Expert against Ballistics. Is it out of the realm of possibility to pull a Morales in? It was highlighted earlier and go for the solo DPS Tracer. I know it's not necessarily the style of Expert. Is that feasible here for them?
I mean, I think I'd prefer a Sonya Karazim from them if they were to go aggressive at all. There's going to be a Brightwing and a Malfurion. They've played Morales once, but Expert really isn't the team to pull up in Morales. It's that Dignitas that enjoys her the most. The Brightwing Malfurion is very interesting. So you get a pseudo shield, as you were mentioning with that phase shield, onto the Tracer, so that should be helpful, allow for the dive. They will need some setup damage though, and that should be coming in with their fifth pick.
Something we have not seen from them before. Something that Brightwing does is add spell armor. You hide your pick, your damage dealer, and on this, well actually they've already got Rhaegar Tassadar. I haven't seen them play it. I don't know anything about their scrims that I can say that, hey, this is it. I'd be okay with the Kael'thas.
For Soul Torturers again?
No, for Expert.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, I don't know about that. That's a bit crazy. Well,
Could be.
I don't know where you go here for tanks, though. Like, where do you go
Johanna,
here?
keep it safe. Play simple. The hardest part is with the Johanna, obviously you get the blind on the Tracer, but getting the lockdown, any type of point and click, stun, poly, anything like that. Instead, they have zero. They have zero CC, hard CC, to do anything towards Tracer.
However, the comp is tanky. Genji can deal with pulse bombs if he uses his deflection correctly. You have Tastar shields. We said there were a lot of ifs, though, last time for Soul Torturers. Can they stun the Genji? Can they stop this DPS? If they hit these things correctly, they can, but the execution was so poor. I don't have faith this time with this draft for Soul Torturers. Are you guys still thinking that Kael'thas is the last pick here?
I feel Mage style. Mage style for wave clear unless they just resort back to a Vala. This is Nick's hero.
Yeah.
I think you just go Sonya, and you just run them over with the single
Give
Tracer.
Nick Tracer.
It's very rare that happens, though. Sonya Tracer, both of them on Expert.
Sonya, Tracer, Muradin, Brightwing, Malfurion.
Yeah.
It seemed that odd to me.
Put me on the side that I
It's
do
about
not
comfort.
like solo damage dealer Tracer, not just because it's tough to get kills, but simply the fact that defending Webweaver waves with this composition is not terrible with the Malfurion in that composition, but it's not great by any means.
Let's see. Tychus!
Whoa!
Okay.
I guess this is to help burn down the Tyrael front line and to allow Tracer to do what she does best once that happens.
First Tychus of the tournament.
Yeah. Good wave clear as well. Very important for the map.
Yeah, it looks like the Tychus is also going to be one of those bolsters to help push with the Web Weaver, right? You move into Odin form, break down those forts. You have siege potential from way far out in range, which is really nice.
You also have the protection, as you said, the Odin. The Odin also provides armor. He also has Neosteel coating at 13, so if you need that against a diving style Genji to try and deal with some of that burst damage, Malfurion doesn't provide burst healing. Brightwing doesn't provide burst healing, so maybe a little bit more survivability on that backside. While it actually is a really good choice for this battleground in particular, the Odin, one of the best sieging heroics, one of the most anti-sieging heroics to be able to put the damage on to push or defend. Not too shabby.
Unless this is something that they've practiced a lot, which I don't think so. I feel like this is one of the first times where Expert has been drafted into a bit of a bind. Is that?
Yeah, I think like
feel?
both games feel that way a little bit. Both drafts, I should say. But the first game, their execution was so much better, it didn't necessarily matter. In this game, it might come down to that. I'm a little bit worried about the Tychus when you look at the DPS down here. I mean, the Grey Mane that can come through, the Genji that can dive through. There's no burst healing. There's slow Brightwing healing. There's slow Malfurion healing. So, you know, if Tychus does get locked down or dove upon, I think they're going to have a bad time. But again, it's the ifs. And last time we had the ifs in game 1, the execution was just better for Expert.
I think that's actually the strength of the Tychus pick, is if they get dived upon. If the Tychus does get dived, the resistance that you brought up during the Odin phase is wonderful. He has some of the highest health points that you have on an Assassin. The idea behind this is, okay, we can help push with our Web Weavers. We have decent defense with Odin, but we can also just put all of our eggs in the basket on Tracer, keep an eye on her, and Odin will be fine by himself. We can come back, we can buy some seconds. I think it's a brilliant pick.
Jayham?
I am fully on the Tychus train here. I absolutely love everything he brings to the table. He's under no real threat. Again, there's no point and click stuns, so he's just going to feast up there. Tyrael has built-in spell armor. He can't, in percentage-based damage, he will rip through Tyrael, and it won't be till level 10 that you can hope to get on that. We'll see a bunch of Emerald win. We'll see the Odin. We'll see a lot of things that can deal with that potentially, but it's going to come down to Tyrael on the other side to make sure Sanctification goes down, because if you're met with a Twilight Dream, the Odin, all that stuff, the Emerald win, you're going to have a tough day at the office.
All right, well, time to head over to our commentary team here to get into game at number 2. Gillyweed and Dreadnought, take it away.
Expert up 1 game in the series versus our Soul Torturers Taiwanese team. Dread, on a scale of 1 to hell, it's about time. How do you feel about the Tychus pick?
Hell, it's about time.
The first one.
I love me some Tychus. I was a bit more on the J-House side of that. I feel like Tychus on a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen, anytime that you can drop the Odin, make sure that you get value out of the Web Weavers. I'm always so concerned about making sure that those gems actually translates the forts. And, it has the defensive side as well. I mean, it's not 10 out of 10, maybe the most meta pick or the most standout, but I think it was a clever adjustment.
Yeah, what I would like to see from Soul Torturers now is a hard engage, a hard dive on him, surprise him, jump on top of him with the Tyrael out of maybe some of the vents, so that he is forced into Odining to get that armor, and then in that amount of time, just try to do so much damage that he just bursts through, and then you get rid of you kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? You're taking out the Tychus, and you are getting rid of the Odin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's going to be a really cool approach here. But I feel like the Tracer, this is something that we were talking about a little bit. It's something that is very, very common all over the world to get on a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen. And I feel like that the Tychus is going to really make up for, what she might struggle with in that kind of siege. That's the real clever part of the draft, I feel like, that I like out of Expert.
Yeah, let's get to it then. Let's see if Expert can win game 2 and get to the next series to SPT, or if Soul Torturers will be able to tie up the series. We're heading into Tomb of the Spider Queen with Expert leading the series 1-0.
As we see, we are going to start this off again in the blue. It is Soul Torturers, where Zaze will be on the Genji. We have Rhaegar, played by Mir. Skrull will be on the Tyrael. We have Cucumber on the Tassadar. And last, it's going to be God Dog on the God Dog, Greymane.
Not quite the Rhaegar level of God Dog, but pretty good anyways. We've got Expert in the red. Curson will be playing Malfurion. Bad Benny yet again on Murden. Ethereal Angel playing that Tracer. ADRD flexing it out on Brightwing. And finally, Nick will be rocking that Tychus.
Fair Angel on Tracer is always a treat to watch. He makes massive plays here. And with the amount of picks we saw Expert able to get in the last game, I normally on a map like Tomb, I don't expect to kind of see that play, but I do feel like Expert just is a level ahead here, the members of Soul Torturers, and he's going to be a very big problem for every single member.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Ethereal Angel does in the Tracer versus Genji matchup. It's definitely a skill matchup, trying to figure out, fade out the deflect, how your pulse bomb's going to work out when you have to recall. And we've seen a lot of awesome Tracer versus Genji matchups in the past. Know that Nick is super well versed in this, so I'm sure that if Ethereal Angel had any questions about that, Nick could give him some pointers as we were heading into the game.
I really like the laning decision making coming out from Soul Torturers when they feel like they might struggle with the kill potential or against the members of Expert, rather than going to the same lane, matching them consistently. They send the tasks that are to deal with the wave clear into the 1 versus 4, and then meanwhile send everybody towards bottom. This is something that originally rose long ago out of the Chinese region, and it's really nice when we see others looking to pick that up.
Yeah, often when you are thinking that you're going to be behind or don't want to deal with the picks, going to a different lane and trying to push the opposite way from that will help you make sure that you can at least keep the advantage going, or at least keep up with Expert, because you get that earlier burst of advantage. But speaking of wave clear, we've got a Moonburn pickup for Malfurion, so he'll be looking to stack that up. Already got 28, so doing very well in that stacking talent so far.
Nice stun coming out onto the Genji pulse bomb, and he is out of here. Expert finding themselves another first blood. Very explosive, much like I mean a lot of what we saw out of them from last game.
Yep, it seems like my question has been answered. Ethereal Angel indeed is good at the Tracer versus Genji matchup, though we had some help. There were some roots there. There was even a grenade popping out from Tychus, but Bad Benny's going in. Here comes the Brightwing Phase Shift 2. Immediate Polymorph Mir taking so much damage and will go down to a Dwarf Toss.
Going down to the Dwarf Toss is a bit demoralizing probably there. Not even having the stun on that. This is going to be a pretty big problem, because with the new Murden, he has a colossal power spike at 7. These kills that Expert has already been able to accumulate are going to only increase a lot faster here post 4. A lot faster.
A lot is indeed a lot. Now Scroll takes damage, Pulse Bomb there. These are 3 for 3 on Pulse Bombs. That spells a lot of good things for Team Expert in the early game. And most importantly, so it allows them to negate the laning damage that Soul Torturers did with that switch up. As you can see in the bottom lane, there was a lot done. Soul Torturers are at least getting some advantages somewhere. They even were using their good Merking heroes to get some giants here in the bottom lane. But at the very least, Team Expert getting these kills makes sure that they're not losing too much out on the structures and keeps some control over the turn-in points.
And since Tychus has been such a hot topic, as we saw earlier, being the first Tychus pick hero of the HGC finals, we've been talking about how effective, wait a minute, Stormbolt lands, Pulse Bomb there, but Zaze is going to be fine. Is how that doesn't come online until 10, and the rest of the composition struggles quite a bit when it comes to that wave clear. So if we see Expert focus on getting a turn-in pre-10, it is in their best interest to heavily focus on that aggression that we've seen into the laning, but post-10, they can play it a bit safer, have Odin with the split push, and play a very hyphy format.
Love the pairing of the Polymorph along with Pulse Bombs too, so that Zace won't be able to deflect potentially these Pulse Bombs that only get stronger once Expert get to level 10 and are able to get what is likely to be Quantum Spike. Very occasionally we'll get something else there, like Pulse Rounds, but usually it is a Quantum Spike because you can even cut through armor there with the % base damage. Another Pulse Bomb, another connection, but Mur doesn't go down.
ADRD happening back out there with a nice little responsive damage coming out from God Dog. But it's just, even without getting the kills, the members of Expert are at least doing enough damage to really put the fear of the Tracer composition into them. It's not that they're just surviving, they're holding their own. They're constantly having to go back, tap, draw other type of resources, and this is leading to a very controlling laning phase. The biggest thing that an Expert, hold up, you're gonna see the teleport onto Brightwing. Bad Benny has the Dwarf Toss out. He's gonna go ahead and use it. Scroll's not done, but it looks like he is going to be just fine.
Here is my concern for Soul Torturers. They have not turned in any of their gems yet, and they're starting to amass quite a lot on some of the members. Cucumber gets them in. That is crucial. Versus a team composition that is so pick-oriented, and versus an Ethereal Angel who is hitting every single Pulse Bomb, I would not want to be a squishy target. Even Ethereal, right? Like, anybody could go down to the kind of control with the stuns and the Pulse Bomb. that Team Expert has. So you really want to make sure that as you are going by the turn-in points, you're dropping off these gems so that you don't get into a point where you have a whole lot and you lose them to a pick.
And with the distraction up on the bottom turn-in, Expert was able to sneak in the very first Web Weaver phase. We'll see what they are able to do here with the Tracer. Going to be responding down to Kirsten, make sure that he's going to be just fine. A lot of damage for Soul Tortures onto the Web Weaver, making it essentially valueless here on the bottom lane. This is a really good response for Soul Tortures.
Amazing defense, using the fact that they had pushed that lane out so much. Bottom lane is now not an issue for Soul Tortures, and they can respond elsewhere. They take an extremely safe path to the mid lane so that they don't get caught by any members of Team Expert. They should know that Bad Benny loves watching to see if he can catch anybody in rotations, and the team would be quick to follow up.
Stormbolt goes on to Rhaegar, post bomb fast after. Mir is going to drop, force the recall on Aethero Angel and Expert here, just with precision. Just immediately getting the one shot into any target that Stormbolt lands onto.
Yeah, they are surgeons right now with the composition that they are running and the way that they're able to get these kills, 4 kills to the 0 of Soul Torturers. But at least ST did pick up the gems that were dropped. The problem now, though, is the problem that so many teams in Europe face on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and that's the double turn-in phase with heroic abilities. But Expert still needs some gems for that, and that gets some time for Soul Torturers to try to catch back up.
And there very much is a huge momentum swing for Soul Torturers if they keep going at this pace, but the experience doesn't go farther behind than they already are. Just with by the fact that they haven't lost that many gems, they are rounding what could be a double turn in play. And unlike the composition of Expert, they do have significant siege on their own. They can really make huge plays. They just have to avoid Aethero Angel.
He is a scary one, and especially now that he has Quantum Spike, the rest of the heroic abilities as we would expect from Team Expert. Soul Torturers still just about to get the heroic abilities of their own. That will help them out a lot, but Team Expert getting the Mercenary Camp control, trying to get the lanes pushed in a better way, so if they do get a second turn in after this, they can get a lot more done with it.
A lot of damage there for Zays, making the members of Expert at least second guess their positioning as they lock in those heroics. What do we see? Sanctification is go for the throw, understandably so, with the dive composition that they have composed.
Nice.
Web Weaver phase here for the members of Soul Torturers. So this is what we were talking about. They're looking for the double stack. They cannot lose some of these gems that they already have. They need to win these fights.
Yeah, they don't want to lose gems, and that may make them play passive, but they need to make sure they're also getting something done with this Web Weaver phase. At least equalize out the lanes, get them pushed in, and get set up so that they have the control over the turn-in points so that they can get the combo of the secondary turn-in. It's a slippery slope for Soul Torturers. They would like to play safely. That is how they play, but they also are down 1 game in this best of 3. If they lose this game, they are eliminated from the HGC finals.
And already with the Tassadar rotation there for Cucumber on the bottom, I'm concerned that they are playing this Web Weaver phase a bit too passive. They are a dive composition,
yes,
a death ball composition, and they are willing to split with their very first Web Weaver phase. If they do so with the secondary, if they are able to get that immediately after, I just feel like it is a colossal waste of gems for the member of Soul Torturers.
They're getting aggressive scroll throughout the El Druin and dove in with Zace, but Expert just completely sidestepped it.
Twilight Dream is using, maybe not to the effect of the members of Expert 1. It's going to lead to them backing out. The Web Weaver phase was dealt with rather effectively. Mainly Soul Torturers not getting as much out of that as they wanted, but it did draw out a Twilight Dream.
Yeah, a whole lot of things happened, but not a lot of whole things happened from that. Soul Torturers, though, still trying to keep the lave pushed so that they can back off and get the turn, and they have more than enough gems necessary to get that. But you can even see having a turn-in phase and still being behind your opponents and experience is just not ideal for a team.
And this is a very interesting kind of problem that Soul Torturers has to answer here. With the Web Weaver phase being turned or attempted on both sides, is losing Sanctification versus the Twilight Dream a winning trade for them? And I feel like with the dive composition, if they can blow up ADRD, the answer to that is yes. But if Emerald Wind goes off, they're going to be wishing that they had themselves that nice invulnerability.
Almost 13 for Team Expert. Soul Torturers choosing to hang around in the middle, which does show that they want to go for the fight right now. Dragonblade has been popped. He is going in as Zace, but the members of Expert are able to retreat back, and now they do
God
what they
Dog.
would like to do, but God Dog goes for the throw and are rewarded with a kill on Tychus.
He goes back in on Athero. Zays gets the follow-up, and they end up getting the kill. The gems now is going to force Bad Benny to dwarf toss and make sure he can secure those, but this leads to Soul Torture's response to an immediate turn-in attempt. This is the moment where they really can swing this game into their favor.
What I was saying when Expert would do what they like to do, which is get back and then re-engage. They are famous for doing that. That's why Bad Benny for a long time was playing and rocking so much with his Anu Barak, is because they can retreat, regroup, and then capitalize on a lot of these heroic abilities being used. But God Dog saved the day there, getting the first kill. And now Soul Torturers are in a fantastic position as long as they can make these Web Weavers mean something to them, get some structures taken down.
And you gotta love the communication of that skirmish. After God Dog gets the first kill, Mir's just like, I can drop the Ancestral if you want to go in, try and risk that play. Zays with the follow-up. This was just amazing synergy from these members, but has got to continue here. Bad Benny goes in. Nice cleanse force there from Mir and the Sanctification. A little bit suboptimal here, but it's just fine for now. Here we see Expert going with that Odin. They're going to push all the members of Soul Torturers back.
Yeah, maybe just a little too hasty on using both Cleanse and Sanctification for Soul Torturers. That has been a common problem for a lot of these teams trying to run these double support-ish type strategies. Obviously, Tyrael is a warrior, but Sanctification works in that enabling sort of way. The Web Weaver's down. Half of the mid fort as Bad Benny dives forward. Nobody in the bottom, but Brightwing defending versus that. That may be at least one fort down for Soul Torturers, but because those were used and Expert were able to bolster up and get aggressive, you're still not going to be able to open up the map completely.
Yeah, we sit in a situation where after 2 Web Weaver phase, Soul Torturers can only claim a 1 fort for themselves, and that is not necessarily what you want to be able to say whenever you're playing on Tomb of the Spider Queen. There are 72 gems available for Expert to try and get a turn-in. No talents here, lead, or anything of the like for a long while, so we're going to have an even skirmish over this turn-in point.
Thanks for God Dog. Zace goes in a Swift Strike. No Sanctification for 30 seconds now. That might be a point for Team Expert to abuse, but Expert also playing fairly safely, knowing that Tychus is a prime target for a dive because he doesn't have Odin for another 20 seconds.
But Zays, every time you watch him use any of those cooldowns, and just watch Bad Benny's posturing consistently, he's trying to find for any one of the backliners to overstep a little bit too much, get that follow-up Dwarf Toss, and make sure that Athero Angel is going to be primed and ready for the fight. They back out, look for the Knights here, but it really is Team Expert is timing their next strike more than anything here. The Soul Torturers have to be responsive because they don't have a major objective to be able to pick up. There is no opportunity to get these gems in the turn-in. So we're just really figuring out, when does Expert think it is most optimal for them to force this turn-in?
Expert got the Bruisers faster. Now seeing that Soul Torturers have gotten their Bruisers, they're just trying to push out the lanes. They didn't get overly aggressive. They didn't immediately go to a turn-in point, but ideally they would like to, knowing that they got the Bruisers first and can kind of push this wave out. Turning in the gems before they fight is always nice, because then you're not so worried, but Bad Benny also has a ton. Look, they found Tassadar though, but a cleanse and a dimensional shift. He is A-okay from the Pulse Bomb.
Soul Torture should be looking to try and force a fight, or at least pressure up into the mid-fort, knowing that the Pulse Bomb went down for a small couple of seconds here. I guess he has found himself already back up to 50%. Athero Angel showing why he is known as a very, very scary tracer. But Expert has those 93 gems. They do not want to lose them. Imagine a world where Soul Torturer's full wipes that, all of that work ethic that we've seen over the past few minutes just wasted on this battlefield.
Root in after the stun. Scroll uses the Ancestral Healing. That's one cooldown burnt that Expert can be proud they have forced. This may mean that Soul Torturers backs off from the turn-in and gives this to Team Expert, who could get a gigantic spike in power since they're so close to 16.
Here they go, the Polymorph. It draws the deflect. Athero Angel misses the Pulse Bomb. Sanctification immediately after.
Oh my gosh! And the Dragon Blade too, that couldn't have been more perfect positioning, but it doesn't matter. Genji's already still down.
Twilight Dream, and now Nick goes into Odin 4 and the Emerald Wind, pushing all the members around here. But in the end, Scroll gets caught out a little bit too far there, and Expert find themselves another kill.
I thought that was maybe the best juke of the whole tournament, getting back into the Sanctification, but Team Expert controlled the fight, takedown 2, and will eventually get a turn in, as long as Tassadar is stopped at some point from getting Bad Benny to turn these in. It's so nice to get these gems off of Benny too.
Yeah, because you know he constantly wants to be up there and trying to get the zone, so the fact that he's able to drop those off, Expert can breathe a little bit easier. God Dog has to tread lightly there. Nice little juke kind of between the two. But the biggest thing is, Odin's down for 50 seconds. Even if this Web Weaver phase only nets maybe 1 to 2 forts, it's the secondary Web Weaver phase that I'm really looking at here for the members of Expert. And I feel like that's when we're looking towards those keeps, towards those game-ending plays.
Benny off to the side, see if he can dwarf toss in and catch somebody with a cheeky flank. Not seeing that, he instead will just get up in the front so that he can create space for the rest of the team to start working on taking down this fort. They have all of the members of Soul Torturers down here in the bottom, so this is where the defense takes place, which means the longer they keep Soul Torturers here, the better mid and top Web Weavers will do.
That post bomb down, Scroll trying to capitalize with the Holy Ground, but the Polymorph is enough to deter. Bad Benny lands a double Storm Bolt, but it doesn't look like they want to try and pull the trigger quite yet. Middle and top Web Weaver still primed and ready, sieging up, so just keeping them busy here for Expert is a winning trade.
Yeah, that's the spike in power that I was referring to for Team Expert, that they're able to take down all 3 forts in one foul swoop, gives them an experience advantage in this game that we just haven't seen just yet. Now being able to have 18 to the 16 of Soul Torturers. Benny continually just seeing if he can jump on anybody. Where are you at? Let me get him.
The Dwarf Toss is just such a scary, scary tool after that. The most recent rework going into Murden, we heard a lot of hype behind it, and it took all the way for day number 4 for him to rise to the power. Everybody was questioning, would he make it to first pick, first ban, where they're yet to see the ban drawn out, but Bad Benny is really putting up a solid argument for maybe it should be that way.
He has that escape as well as the engage. They almost take him down, but he still had an avatar, if necessary. Interesting revitalized pickup for Malfurion at 16. Gives him back some mana whenever he uses Enervate, but also gives him some cooldown reduction of his own, just like he would be giving to his teammates.
Both teams have enough gems to be able to get this turn in. We see a Thero poking up, trying to scare them off. If we see anybody overextend whatsoever, you know that Bad Benny is looking to strike. Mir has to make sure that he's kiting into the back line. They find themselves one. Nice cleanse there from Mir. That keeps him alive, but now we know that Bad Benny is going to be capitalizing the fact that there is no longer a cleanse available.
Yeah, and that was a capitalizing for Expert too, that they forced Soul Torturers so far up toward the top turn-in. Soul Torturers wondering if they could get back into position to guard the bottom, or if they would just have to go to the top, and that's just enough time for Team Expert to make sure that they can get a secondary turn-in, and this hurts Soul Torturers a lot. They were already falling behind in experience because they lost all of their forts. The waves are still pushed up really well, so they're going to all hit at a really bad spot.
It's the waves and where they're postured mixed with how close to the 20 brink, and again, that Odin is now available. We have yet to see what it can make happen when a Web Weaver phase is going to be backed out. If they prime that top lane enough, I expect a boss immediately after for the members of Expert, but there's the Odin.
Ancestral Healing saves God Dog, and then there's the Sanctification with the Holy Ground too, but all it does is make sure that God Dog lives. It doesn't give them the initiation that they would ideally like. Twilight Dream hits.
Emerald Wind as well, and Genji was able to make it out. Zay's drawing a lot of cooldowns, maybe enough to be able to deter Expert from achieving this keep with the stun. A cleanse from Mir keeps them up, the Holy Ground, and they're looking to go in.
Soul Torturers are not done in this tournament yet. They have taken down Tracer, they make Bad Benny go into Avatar, and he dwarf tosses out to safety for now, but Zace won't let him go. He's still going in after him, using the Dragon Blade, had the Swift Strike, but he turns around, hits him with the hammer, and Genji is out.
He is going to get punished, and meanwhile, look at this bottom Web Weaver. Took out the keep from wall, but more importantly, top keep is falling down to 50%. They get the stun, and they find the Grayment. God Dog is out of here. Polymorph as well. Scroll is gonzo. 3 kills now here for Expert. The turnaround, again, recollecting themselves, reinitiating. Expert is just terrified.
Yeah, it is the team fight style that really started to see them solidifying their spot in the top of Europe, and they've since changed and been able to adapt to different ways of team fighting, but it's still one that they are comfortable with and they excel at. They are so lethal against teams. 3 kills, a keep down. Benny looking for more. Dimensional shift away. They'll at least walk away with a double keep play. Oh, they didn't get the mid keep. My bad, but at least 1 keep down.
You know Bad Benny is terrifying when just one Dwarf Toss can force a dimensional shift on a full HP Tassadar. It's just nope, right on out of that situation. Nothing to do with that. Okay, so now that it's all said and done, we've had a lot of action, a lot of fireworks. Where do we find ourselves? Soul Torturers, that level, that obviously is a big problem here, but at least they do have near enough gems for the Web Weaver phase. I think the biggest problem here is the fact that so does Expert, already dropping off those 36, 11 in hand, and the boss is a big question mark for both these teams.
Yeah, that is why Soul Torturers are putting Tassadar in the top lane. They're pushing that top lane. They're going to check in on this. They're even going to go for it. Just a pure sneak, but they were clearing out that wave.
Yeah, oh my goodness, they're going to be able to get this. Wait a minute, Bad Benny might be able to scout it out, but it feels too little too late. Emerald Wind might be a decision-making, but if he's Sanctification too early and the Holy Ground, they can make this play.
There was no force wall there. He puts the Holy Ground on the point. The boss easily over to Soul Torturers, but the fight is terrifying.
Really
but
good
Odin
job.
and Emerald Wind, they disengaged. They're fine. They did it.
ADRD actually had a very cheeky play there to just go to the escape route. Emerald Wind kind of blind to make sure that nobody could get out of there.
Yeah.
But since everyone had the mobility over the sidewall, 2 heroics used, and Soul Torturers take away a win condition from Team Expert.
Not out of it yet, but almost 20. Bottom lane is still a problem for Soul Torturers, but behind the boss, they want the turn in 4 more gems as Benny shows up. They didn't quite get the Web Weavers.
But there are, oh my gosh, how, okay, so at least Expert doesn't have enough on their own here to be able to get it quite yet. As Soul Torturers going to be able to hit that 20?
Close.
They're 2 away. Bad Benny, he found him. This is so tense. Will Soul Torturers be able to clip this 20? They will be able to do so. Bad Benny starts the channel, and nobody's comfortable to be able to move out there quite yet, so Expert gets the Web Weaver phase.
Web Weaver phase, they might get a Murd, dodge a Stormbolt, running for his life in that Ghost Wolf form, and he gets back to safety. 20's here, and Soul Torturers are ready to go.
Nice Holy Ground, but Ethero's going to use 1 blink, and he's just fine. Bottom Web Weaver is prepped and ready. Keep in mind, it's going to spawn very close to that core, and it has the catapults to be able to aid it, so eventually someone on the side of Soul Torturers is going to have to answer to that.
Yeah, that's why they're going for the fight right here, right now with the Holy Ground. Expert continually moving back every single time. There was the Twilight Dream. Tyrael does not live through the Pulse Bomb, but Burden goes down. It's a bloodbath.
God Dog goes in, and he's just popping up, going for the throat binding too. Nick gets Tassadar right down. The members of Soul Torturers, they'll still have pressure on their core. They need to be able to try and get this retreat here. But the fact that they were able to turn this fight, it is just amazing. They didn't even get Sanctification off, and they still had the confidence to turn it around.
God Dog again showing up for this team in a big way, and Soul Torturers on their last lifeline, their maybe final game. If they lose it, they're out. Are able to get enough kills to stay in this game again. But unfortunately, it took so long that they do lose another keep. 1 solid keep left between Team Expert and the core of ST.
Soul Torturers do have enough gems for another turn-in. Because they were able to pick up that boss, it's going to be a long while till we find that win condition as an option. My biggest concern here, Gilly, is that we've already seen 2 Web Weaver phases on the side of Soul Torturers, and they didn't make too much happen with it here. At this point, they can't have that happen anymore. They need a minimum keep, possibly looking for game, because Expert's pressure between those 2 catapults, and again, because the boss is not available for so long, it feels like when these gems are turned in, they need to be looking for game.
There's Ping. Skrull wants to Holy Ground Curse into the rest of the team. He has Twilight Dream as he comes out of this Ice Block. Emerald Wind there too. He uses it to get away with the Astral Communion.
Mirror getting caught on the backside, and then Nick getting the big red button all over God Dog. Expert just gets 2 kills, find a 3rd. And what felt like such a tense game for so very long, Expert immediately just shuts it down with a fast opener.
Yeah, that was all Cursin. The team came in and helped. Most certainly they came in and helped. The Emerald Wind was awesome, but to know that he would have Twilight Dream out of that Ice Block, use Astral Communion over the wall, he baited and he delivered. Soul Torturers have lost 3, they've lost 4. There's only Tassadar left, and Team Expert will be able to clean up the core and take this series, moving on to the final Deciders match versus Super Perfect Team.
Very insane play from Team Expert here. The fact that they picked that high tracer, the risky lack of wave clear, and still make it look so very good. Yes, there were a couple of moments where maybe they didn't get as much out of the Web Weaver phase and the win conditions, not predicting that boss play, but ultimately it did feel like from minute 1 to the very last one that they had pretty solid control. But you gotta give a shout out to Soul Torturers here. I feel like that was some amazing play that they stood up to a dominant team fighting team like Team Expert, was able to turn around fights even being men down.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see Soul Torturers both versus Team Expert and SPT. This is not the Soul Torturers you would know before. This was the super team. 3 members of old Soul Torturers and 2 from Deadly Kittens. They felt like they had a long time to figure out the meta by watching the other groups. They knew they had to be the team that adapted the best. It just wasn't quite enough for them in this potential group of death.
And with that, we are going to send it over to our analysts to get a couple more thoughts and breakdown on that game.
That's right, Expert stays alive here, and it wasn't all too easy though, to say the least. Unfortunately for Soul Torturers, they are now eliminated, but it was a good match overall, if not a bit slow and steady and paced.
Slow and steady wins the race. Wolf4 t-shirt said that exact same quote on it just a couple of days ago.
Wins the game, not wins the race.
It's
Close
still the
enough.
same. It's still the same. But either way, the Tychus pick came in at the it came in at the end. As soon as we got off here, oftentimes we continue to talk about the draft, right? We could probably talk about the draft for forever. But the Tychus pick, I really liked it. Of course, it was a slow, steady pace. It wasn't like the dominant 17-1 or whatever it was in game 1.
Yeah.
But it was enough to get the job done. And I think that's all Expert wants to do because they have a much tougher test ahead of them.
It was a safer pick, obviously, than the crazy Genji Abathur style that we saw in
Yeah.
game 1. You've got this slow, methodical hero that kind of cues forward, goes for a dash, ends up dropping. You know, this mech on him is just very safe, gets that extra armor, and you burn down the material. Doesn't always end up being that way, and Expert did have some problems in that game, but I think the big moment there that decided everything was just the bait there where you see Kirsten just poking, and then the ice block into that jump Twilight Dream.
He took Soul Torturer's desperation of trying to get back in the game and used it against him, which is always a clever play in itself. But no, on the Tychus train, man, it was a wonderful pick. It was safe, and that's the power in picking it, right? Making it hard for you to be dive upon.
A final point on that, using that as bait, it goes back to the fact that there was literally no CC on the other side. So what do you do to interrupt any Twilight Dream? You can't. It was literal bait because there was no real threat. I mean, obviously there's sanctification, things that could have come out in that team fight, but that was literal bait right there.
Well, thank you very much, guys. It's time now to go over there and go over with Kev and go over with Benny.
Thanks so much, James. We are over here and we're ready to do an interview. I'm here with Bad Benny, Warrior player from Team Expert here, and congratulations on your win, of course. Fantastic. You move further into Group D. One more match to go to claim that BlizzCon spot, but I got to ask you, the quality of your play, is it due to some secret kind of horse camp preparations?
Not this time around. For the Western Clash, it was the horse camp. Now it's just eating some spicy food in Korea and practicing.
Fantastic. Well, let me get your opinion on this group. How did this play out? I know that first match against Ballistics was a tough one. Did that play out the way you expected? Did you come into this group knowing it was going to be a tough challenge there against the Korean team? What are your thoughts on that?
I thought we would do better against Ballistics. They had done really good preparation, actually, so they ended up with much better drafts, and yeah, we didn't stand a chance, basically. So we expected to do better against them, but we're still confident we can take the second seed now.
Awesome. Well, one more match to go. Super perfect team from China. How are you feeling about that matchup? Is there any particular approach you plan to take in that? You've seen some games out of them already. How are you feeling?
I'm a bit nervous. They look like we didn't think they would be able to be that close to Ballistics, because they still put up quite a fight, I think. But I think we can win it.
All right, well, I'll let you get ready for that match. That's the next one coming up here. Congratulations. We'll see you in the next matchup. All right, Team Expert moves on to our deciders match against Super Perfect Team from China. It's coming up right after a short break. Stick with us. Last match of the day for Group D.
To the same conclusion as us here. God Dog and friends are going to try and apply this pressure towards top. Nice juke there with the Thero Angel. He's going to buy time. It's the rest of Expert looking to get the flank. Nick goes in, finds himself a reset.
They'll get that. They get 10 to Nick, hit by the Detainment Strike, but ready to go in with the Dragon Blade. He uses Deflect, takes down one, slicing, dicing, hacking through the members of Soul Torturers as another falls. 4 kills for nothing. They're going to make a fight happen. It has to be right now.
And they need to, and they don't have the Sonya. Bad Betty gets the Dwarf Toss immediately. Nick drops the Sanctification, and Soul Torturers lose their Ariel. Or Thero. Oh yeah, wow, Bad
Aegis.
Betty already getting the Aegis there.
Saint.
It's keeping God Dog alive for a moment. Nick trying to get the hack and slash double reset. Ancestral goes down, but at this point here, the members of Expert are going to blow this team fight right open.
Yeah, the Dragon Blade is just too much to deal with. Crystal Aegis, we have seen it struggle a lot in these team fight compositions because of how telegraphed it is and how it's used on a low health target. Show that they want to go for the fight right now. Dragon Blade has been popped. He is going in as Zace, but the members of Expert are able to retreat back, and now they do what they would like to do, but God Dog goes for the throw and are rewarded with a kill on Tychus.
He goes back in on a Thero. Zaze gets the follow-up, and they end up getting the kill. The gems now is going to force Bad Benny to dwarf toss and make sure he can secure those.
Tortures backs off from the turn-in and gives this to Team Expert, who get a gigantic spike in power since they're so close to 16.
Here they go, the polymorph. It draws the deflect. The Thero Angel misses the pulse bomb. Sanctification immediately after.
Oh my gosh! And the Dragon Blade too, that couldn't have been more perfect positioning, but it doesn't matter. Genji's already still down.
Twilight Dream, and now Nick goes into Odin 4 and the Emerald Wind, pushing all the members around here. But in the end, Scroll gets caught out a little bit too far there, and Expert find themselves another kill. Enough to be able to deter Expert from